Hello and welcome to another episode of the RG Podcast. I am your host, Roberto. So good to be with y'all again. And it's an exciting time of the year because, well, it's the end of the year and the end of the decade. And with the end comes a lot of reflection on not only things we have accomplished, but how far we've come as individuals. And just excitement for the future. I know I'm definitely on that boat. The date is December 16th, 2019. It is nearly 4 p.m. where I am, and I hope this day finds you well. Now, I'm not the only one celebrating the end of the year. For many people, you probably got an email from Spotify saying that your year in music is all wrapped up, 2019 wrapped. And I particularly love this time of year for multiple reasons. First and foremost, because they give you a playlist of your most played songs of the year. And Spotify's pretty good at that. They have a lot of data on it. And they produce what, well, literally is your best playlist for everyone. And, mine is no exception. I love it. Every year I look forward to it. Whether it was like 2016, 2017, 2018, now 2019. Ooh, I get another one. Super excited to see it. But of course, what's so great about this is the wrapped web page they have. So I'm currently on mine, and they start you off by looking at how your sounds change with the seasons. So it starts off with winter, and immediately when I first open this page, I am met with the song 1 Minute playing by XXXTentacion and featuring Kanye West. And if you ever listen to the song, I recommend it. It's pretty cool. It literally opens with X doing his scream, his screamo thing. And so immediately I'm just met with "Wah!" I'm like, whoa, okay, that's a hell of a way to start my rap. But yeah, let's hear it. So yeah, it shows the album cover for that. I also see Linkin Park, Run the Jewels on there. And from what I gather, my winter was pretty dark, melodramatic, and not very optimistic. Let's just say that. It's pretty dark and angering type music I had going on in the winter. But then we jump to the spring, and there's quite a sharp shift. We still have Run the Jewels, because they still have some very fun bangers, but I'm also met with Kendrick Lamar and Anderson .Paak. And of course with these artists, there's a much lighter tone to their music, much more exciting, much more festive, groovy. And of course Kendrick has exceptions to that, like the album Damn. If you listen to that album, or listen to the episode where I talk about that album, you'll know how dark of an album Damn is. But, overall, Kendrick has pretty good music, uplifting, often optimistic as well as pessimistic. I think he has both, quite in balance. But of course, Anderson .Paak, in general, very uplifting and just very sunny and groovy vibes going on in the music. And I even have the cover for the single of Tints featuring Kendrick Lamar on there. So my spring was very Kendrick Lamar heavy. Alright, then we're going to jump to the summer, which again, the music becomes even sunnier still. So instead of Kendrick, we have Chance the Rapper. And this was when I was first getting into Chance. Well, I should say trying to get into Chance. I don't say that because it failed in any way. As you may have heard on episode 0, I recommended some of Chance's music. But I was listening to it in anticipation for his first studio debut album, The Big Day. Unfortunately, for anyone who follows hip-hop or music in general, you would know The Big Day did not do well in any sense of the word. And, it happens, but it sucks because I was hoping to use that album as a way to catapult myself to be a Chance fan. But instead, I didn't get to use it that way. But fortunately for me and many other listeners out there, Chance still has his mixtapes on Spotify. So, if you want to listen to Coloring Book or Acid Rap, Those are the two big ones people generally recommend. There are other ones as well. Personally, I like Coloring Book a little more than Acid Rap, but I mean, both are fantastic. You can't go wrong with either. So give him a listen. You'll notice he has very apparent themes, things he focuses on, whether it's his faith in God, his love for his family, or drugs. Yeah, straight up just drugs. I mean, Acid Rap should have given that away. But no, he has made a lot of really great music. I highly recommend. Very uplifting, very soulful, very beautiful. But yeah, looking at summer, so we have Chance. We have Anderson .Paak again, because I was listening to more of his music, not just the singles. We have Run the Jewels again. And yeah, that's how my summer looks. Let's look at the fall. Let's see. I got basically just a mix of all the other seasons. I got Kendrick Lamar, Chance the Rapper, Anderson .Paak. Those three. I think at this point of the year, I was kind of getting into the groove of what my year sounded like, and I knew what I liked and what I was focusing on. I'm definitely one of those people who cannot listen to too many artists or too many albums at once, because for me, it is very, very important that I give each artist like kind of my undivided attention when listening to them, because I like to form opinions and I like talking about these opinions. Don't believe me? Well, you're listening to a podcast dedicated almost entirely to me giving my opinions on music. So yeah, I do that by listening to artists and albums and songs over and over and over and over and over again. Seriously, like I spend hours and hours and hours on a single artist for many months before I start forming a solid opinion. Yeah, I'll also form like small opinions along the way, but so many times I'll 180 on these opinions or just axe some opinions, be like, no, actually that was wrong. I actually think this now. But yeah, so I think fall is kind of reflective of that. Now, for anyone who has looked at their rap page, you may have noticed that I'm only mentioning 3 artists per season, even though they give you 4 per seasons. That's because for every single season, I had one artist consistently on there. And yes, you might be able to guess who that is. Kanye West. Absolutely Kanye West. He has music for every season, for every sound. Uplifting, pessimistic, sad, angry, whatever you want, he's got it. And I know all these other artists do too, but as you guys know, I'm a bit of a Kanye fan. So yes, he was on there consistently. Alright, let's see what they got next. Oh yeah, your number one artist. You might be able to guess what my number one artist is. Kanye West. Of course it's Kanye West. I spent 152 hours listening to Kanye West this year. My favorite song of his apparently was Runaway from the album My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which, yeah, I mean, I would definitely say that's one of my top tracks for him. Really encapsulates everything about him as an artist. It's beautiful. The production is phenomenal. The great use of sound. And just the amount of self-reflection on that song is really, really good too. Like, it isn't all just one or the other. Usually with Kanye tracks, it's either completely like, oh, I'm just being artsy, so I'm saying these artsy or weird things. Or it's completely, I'm being self-reflective in the song, but I'm giving nice sounds with it. And this one's more in the middle. You definitely get moments where you're like, oh, can't just Kanye be Kanye. And other points where you're thinking to yourself, oh, okay, I think he's acknowledging his flaws and the mistakes he has made as an individual. And yeah, it's very, very apparent. This song, if you're like in a very self-reflective, moody mood, like this song can really get to you. So if you haven't listened to Runaway by Kanye West, you are missing out. And yes, the song is 9 minutes long. And yes, I do recommend the 9-minute version. If you want to know how long 9 minutes is? It has been 9 minutes since this podcast has been recording. So 9 minutes. But very, very worth it, because the song opens with like a minute and a half of intro. Very slow intro that builds up to a beautiful crescendo. And then it has an outro of about 3.5 minutes, I believe. Yes, it is a very long outro, and the whole time he's kind of, what would be the right term? Kind of mumbling in auto-tune, which I know doesn't sound very interesting. I know that. Believe me, I know that. But I gotta tell you, it is very, very emotional, because the whole song builds up with him just being so self-reflective. It starts off with him kind of being remorseful of the mistakes he has made, talking about it, being like not afraid to show like the ugly thing he did, and talking about how much he regrets it and how much he knows he will lose with it. Then it jumps to Pusha T's verse, and King Push, like, he is a phenomenal wordsmith. Just, he's so good at delivering his message. The reason I say that is because I mentioned this before, but he definitely has a vibe of the bling era of hip hop, which I know is probably the most shallow and superficial hip hop we have ever heard. But he uses that vibe with a good flair. Like, he puts more into it. It's not like he just sat down and just like spit whatever top of his head, as the bling era hip hop felt like it was pretty guilty of. But no, he puts a lot of thought and effort into it. And it's actually Push's verse that kind of shows the ugliness of Kanye's action in the moment. He is being very misogynistic, very hurtful to this woman that he loved and loved him back, and just showing like how just brutal of a human being he was. Well, not even a human being at that point, just a brutal asshole he was to her at that moment. And yeah, it's quite gross. Like, if you listen to some of the lyrics, like, wow, how can anyone say that to another human being? And it's like, that's the point. That's the point. You're supposed to hear that and think that. Be like, wow, what a terrible thing that this woman has gone through, that Kanye put her through. And like, yeah, and that's exactly what it is. But then after that ends, there's a bit of a bridge and a hook again. There's that 3.5-minute outro. Very, very, very emotional. Very auto-tuned. It's basically him mumbling the hook in different ways over and over and over again. But you gotta listen to it. It's basically art. Within the Kanye fan community, it's considered sacrilegious to skip this part, because it is probably one of the most artistic endeavors he has taken within a song itself, I should say. Listen to yourself, form your own opinion, but I really love it. So I'm not surprised that Runaway made my top. Let's see, what is next? Alright, my top artists. So, number 2 spot, I have Run the Jewels. My number 3 spot, I have Kendrick Lamar. My number 4 spot, I have Linkin Park. My number 5 spot, Anderson .Paak. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually surprised Linkin Park actually made it to my top 5. Because I still listen to the music, of course, but not as often as I thought I did. But apparently I did. Good to see. Of course, Run the Jewels and Kendrick Lamar being up there makes absolute sense. It totally get that. Because I just love their music. It's so good. And let's see, finally Anderson .Paak. Yeah, I mean, I had a playlist dedicated to I made a playlist dedicated to more of a summery vibes, like uplifting summery and like chill, like easygoing vibes of hip-hop songs that have that vibe. And it's mostly Anderson .Paak right now, because his music is quite cool and fun to listen to, even if some of the tones are quite dark in some of them sometimes. But yeah, my top 5. Fantastic. Alright, let's see what's next. Alright. Oh yeah, this part. It tells you how many countries you've listened to, essentially. Like the artists, what countries they're from. Now, for me, my number is 25 countries, which to me blew my mind. I thought almost everyone I listened to was American. But no, I do have people across the world. It kind of shows you examples. Shows Kanye in the United States, Queen from the UK, Daft Punk from France. Oh yeah, by the way, Daft Punk is French. I completely forgot about that. I thought they were American too. Shows how much I know, right? But yeah, Daft Punk is French, so they're on there. And this guy, I am forgetting his name. They're not providing names. It just showed a face. I have a playlist with a lot of European electro kind of swing, if you will, kind of. It's like some sort of EDM. And there's a lot of names I don't really know on there. I just really like their songs. So I'm guessing this guy's one of them. And I have one song by The Weeknd in my playlist, so it's showing him. And he's from Canada, of course. Alright, cool. I really wish though that Spotify would give me a list and a breakdown of all the artists in all the countries, because they only show you your top 5 or 5 random ones, I guess. But you know, I guess that's fine. It's cool to see. I learned something. You know, Daft Punk being French and all. Feel very ignorant, but oh well. All right. So according to Spotify, my next area, I was genre fluid. You refuse to let one sound define you. Makes you sound really, really cool. Which, I mean, I guess. When I looked at this, there was a couple things that surprised me. First, that my top one is pop rap. And I forget that Kanye West is considered pop rap. I get it. His like singles, the stuff you hear on the radio that most people have heard of. Yes, very pop rap. I totally acknowledge that. But he has so many other things out there that are completely different. That are not pop rap at all. Are very anti-pop sounding songs too. So I wonder if every song of Kanye West, even though they're pretty anti-pop, are still considered pop rap because Spotify's like, well, it's Kanye West. He must be pop rap. It's like, no, have you heard Yeezus? Yeezus is amazing, but it's not pop rap. It is terrifying and industrial sounds, minimalism. Like, it's my favorite Kanye album, and I will talk about it one day on this podcast because there's so many things about it that I love. But anyways, that was one of the things that surprised me. But the other thing that surprised me was I have pop on there too. It's like number 3, I believe. Yeah, it's number 3. Which, like, it's very strange. I don't consider myself someone who listens to pop, like, at all. Well, I shouldn't say at all. There's, like, a couple exceptions. There's that Estelle song featuring Kanye West called American Boy. Yeah, that's pop. I have a couple Beyonce songs, so I guess, like, that makes sense. The only other pop song I think off the top of my head is the song by Tuvlo, Habits. That I really like. I really like that song. And yes, because it's dark. Because I'm a dark and edgy boy, okay? Deal with it. Deal with it. I like dark, edgy stuff. And so Tuvlo's song, if you haven't heard that yet, Habits, Stay High. It's a fantastic song. Just a very unapologetic, ugly self-reflection of who she is and the excuse of a human being she has become because she is unable to cope with a breakup and being alone. So she like delves into her vices of drugs and sex and like shitty food and stuff like that. And yeah, I love it because it's just so honest and sad. And I'm like, hell yeah, give me more of that. I want to cry my mascara tears too. Let's do it. Anyways, so number 1, pop rap. Number 3 is pop. Number 2 is rock, which I'm not surprised. I listen to a lot of Avenged Sevenfold, a lot of Linkin Park, a lot of Metallica, so that could be in there. Number 4 is hip hop, which that is kind of surprising because I consider all the hip hop I listen to be hip hop and not pop rap. But oh, you know, I guess. And finally, alternative metal. Yeah, again, that makes sense. Avenged Sevenfold, Metallica. I also have quite a bit of System of a Down, Death Clock. Yes, I know they're not a real band, but goddamn, is their music amazing. Oh yeah, if anyone's ever played Call of Duty Zombies, like the OG stuff, I have a lot of songs from their old stages in a playlist because they are unironically really, really well done and well made. I think it's so as a guy, it makes me sound a little ignorant, but as a guy, most artists I listen to have male singers. That's just how it is, or a male lead, if you will. But there are a couple exceptions, like the pop I mentioned before, some female voices in there. But in this Call of Duty, like the OG zombie songs, they all had the same female lead singer. I'm forgetting her name off the top of my head, but apparently she's a bit of a country star now. I don't know. Things change for people. Anyways, I loved her voice and all of these songs. It was so good. And like, there's one song, Abracadabra, that really like captured my imagination as I listened to it. Every time, like I almost get into a meditative state of how like good it is. And so like, I'm just like, you know what? This is good. This is good for me. Get some more variety in my leads. All right, let's jump on to another one. All right. Oh, my top songs. All right, my number 1 top song apparently was Tints by Anderson .Paak and Kendrick Lamar. Number 2 is Who Are You by Anderson .Paak from the same album, Oxnard. Number 3, Six Summers by Anderson .Paak from the same album, Oxnard. Number 4, Mansa Musa, same artist, same album. Yeah, these first 5 are just all the songs in the same playlist. Basically, the first 5 songs of that playlist, so the summary rap that I have, is just the summer vibes, and it's good. And yeah, my top 5 are just essentially just that playlist, which is great. So number 5 is All We Got, featuring by Chance the Rapper, featuring Kanye West, and a choir, which is really good. Number 6 is Runaway by Kanye West. Number 7 is 1 Minute by XXXTentacion, featuring Kanye West and Travis Baker, who is a drummer for, was it Blink-182? It was one of those rock bands that we all knew at one point. I mean, some of you may still know Blink-182. Don't doubt it. But anyways, he did a fantastic job. If you listen to the drumming on this song, like, I don't usually pay attention to drumming, but this one, it just like makes you want to bang my head really hard. And so this is a great song if you want to like mosh pit, throw your arms around, break something. Definitely recommend 1 Minute. And Kanye delivers like a 2.5 minute verse, I think it is, at the beginning of it, kind of talking about how he's surrounded by hate and it's so hard to trust people, and so why does he even bother? And so I was like, yeah, love that. Angsty. Give it to me. Alright, my number 8 track, Heartless by Kanye West. Number 9, Devil in a New Dress by Kanye West featuring Rick Ross. And number 10, All of the Lights by Kanye West. I'm actually surprised that one's there. I don't feel like I listen to the song very often, but we made it. Alright. Let's see. Oh, next page, Spotify's just thanking me for being a premium member since 2014. You're welcome. Alright. It says I've discovered 60 new artists this year, which is phenomenal to me because I was like literally at the end of like 2018, I was worried that I was kind of stagnating on my music taste and I want to expand. And of course, with this podcast and having guests recommend albums to me, I get to really expand my taste and new experiences with new music. So 60 new artists this year, which is phenomenal. It's all thanks to my guests out there who have shown me new things, friends that I talk to about music. So I'm really, really happy that the number is so high. 60 new artists. Apparently my favorite new artist was Chance the Rapper. Makes sense. I explored 31 of his songs, 3 of his albums, and I spent over 8 hours with them. Fantastic. Love to hear it. Since we've been together since 2013. Why stop there? Wait, I thought that was 2014. Whatever, 2013 apparently. Oh yeah, they give you total time. What's interesting is when I first saw this, my total time isn't as high as some of the other years. Actually, it's one of the lowest it's been, which I find kind of strange. I guess not so much. I did have an old job at Embari where I could just put in headphones and just be working like an 8-hour shift without ever taking my headphones out. And I just spend the whole day just doing that. Whereas with my current job at the tech, I can't really do that. Like there's almost never any time to plug in headphones into my ears. I'm always like, have to give someone attention or have to work together in a team. So I guess that makes sense. But it does kind of make me a little sad. I wish that number was a lot higher. So my minutes for this year are 29,491. My highest year was in 2017 with 52,323 minutes. That was a good year for music apparently. But yeah, the lowest was 2015 with 26,228. 2015. 2016 was 37,000. And then 2018 was 42,000. So, a lot of time spent listening to music. And if you want to get a scale of how much time that actually is, you look up 29,000 minutes to days. So that's 29,000 minutes is 20 days. I could have done that math in my head, but oh well, here we are. So 20 days, over 20 days straight of music. So yeah, that's pretty good. I thought it'd be higher, but I'll try harder for next year. Next year I'll definitely try harder. Alright, so this next part is really cool. They kind of show you like your top artists throughout the years. And what's funny, the first time I entered this page, the music they played was just the top track of your very, very first year. And since I started out in 2013, this was back when I was still kind of making I was the playlist guy, the quote unquote Spotify DJ for all my friends' parties. And so I just played a lot of classics that I knew everyone liked. And the friends I hung out with had a very white taste in music. No disrespect intended. But it was very true. They just liked very classic white American kind of music. And so when I clicked this page and I entered it, the first thing I hear is Stayin' Alive by the Bee Gees. Which made me laugh because I was like, when was the last time I listened to that song? That wasn't a part of like a trailer or a commercial. Like, I've never listened to this song. I'm like, oh my god, that's insane that it was my top track for 2013. So good. But yeah, they give you top track and top artist of each year. So 2013, Stayin' Alive by the Bee Gees and Kanye West were my top artists, which is strange because I didn't really get into Kanye West until like 4 years ago-ish. In 2014, my top track was Rap God by Eminem. My top artist was Lupe Fiasco. And god, I love Lupe Fiasco. I gotta listen to him more. His old stuff is so good. In 2015, my top song was Lose Yourself to Dance, with my top artist being Metallica. Okay, quite an interesting year I had for music in 2015. 2016, this is when it starts. My top track is No More Parties in LA off the album The Life of Pablo by Kanye West. And my artist, of course, was Kanye West. Now, there's an interruption of Kanye West, actually, in 2017, with my top song being Humble and my top artist being Kendrick Lamar. It was a very Kendrick Lamar year because he had dropped that album, Damn, that year, and I was listening to it over and over again. And if you listen to that podcast episode, Damn really did come out during a time where I was kind of going really downhill, and it just vibed with me very well. Like, it kind of threw fuel on that fire, if you will. So, I really enjoyed the fuck out of that album. 2018, my top track was Legend Has It by Run the Jewels. And my top artist was Kanye West again. Makes sense. And 2019, of course, we discussed Tense featuring Kendrick Lamar by Anderson .Paak. And my top artist, Kanye West again. Phenomenal. Yeah, a lot of great tracks and artists. Oh, okay, so this next page, your artist of the decade. So who did you listen to the most this decade, according to Spotify? And you might be able to guess who it is. Yes, it is once again Kanye West. Makes sense. I'm not surprised. But you know what? Hopefully in the future I diversify my listening a little more. But I mean, Kanye West is already a pretty diverse artist, so I'm not too upset by that. I mean, what can I say? Like, he's a phenomenal artist. He does things so well. When I find other artists who do things as well as him and be as initiative or have the same kind of initiative and courage as he does, I'll listen to them too. But for now, I'm gonna keep on that Kanye grind. Alright. And finally, the 15th page is just like a summary. A little summary that they have that you can just share on social media. But cool. Yeah, I'm very excited for that. End of the year, we got our nice Spotify wrap up. If you have Apple Music, I think they did that like a month ago. A similar thing. I don't think it quite as much detail, but definitely like, oh, top track, top artist, top album, sort of thing. Definitely recommend it. Now, there is a website. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what the website is. I have the URL up here, but it's literally, it looks super sketchy. I'm going to be honest with you. Because I'm going to tell you what it is, and you're immediately going to be like, no, I don't want to visit this website. The website is 107.170.880.8080/public/top. Yeah. So when you enter that domain, I guess, I don't know if that's the right word. As soon as you enter it, it'll ask you, hey, this website wants to access your Spotify profile. And the reason it wants to access your Spotify profile is so it can give you a much more in-depth look at your listening data. Because Spotify Wrapped does give you quite a bit of detail in your listening habits and styles over time. but it has way more metadata, but it doesn't share that with you. Like, what were my top tracks of all time? Or what were my top tracks for the year? Or top 50 tracks? Now, I want to know more. I don't want to know just top 5 or top 10. I want to know all this. What about, did I have a short-term best or a long-term best? So if you go to this website, it gives you all that information. So I'm going to share with you the information that it shared with me. So it gives me top artist short-term, meaning 4 weeks. I guess within the past 4 weeks. And of course, Kanye is still at top. 2 is Jay-Z, Anderson .Paak, Kid Seekos, Kendrick Lamar, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to read all of them because they give you a ton of data and there's too much to talk about. But I will tell you what the categories are. So top artist, short term, 4 weeks. Then they have top artist, medium term, 6 months. Then top artist, long term, years. So I have all the years you've listened to Spotify. What are your top artists? And they give you like, in the first one they give you 12. Second one they gave me 44. And in the long term they gave me 50 artists. Then they do the same thing, short term, medium term, long term. But instead of top artists, it's top tracks. And they list the artist with the track too. As a short term, medium term, long term. And I think that's it. I'm kind of oversimplifying it because if I try to get into more detail in it, I could spend an hour on this. But yeah, if you want to know like what were my top songs throughout the whole time I've been on Spotify or within the past few years, and you can find out. And it gives you a very basic web page, by the way. It's literally just white background, black text with some bold writing, and that's it. No fanciness. It looks like a very basic HTML page. At the bottom, it tells you the person who made it, Larry Person, and there's a hyperlink to if you want to donate money to him so you can keep doing this thing, which I might actually do because I do like having this information. It's just cool to see, know more about myself this way. But yeah, it's really, really nice to see all this. Last year, this was actually up last year. People talked about it last year, and I was kind of hesitant to do it because I was like, that's a sketchy link, and I don't trust like that. But then, it came up again this year, and no one said anything negative about it. Like, in fact, everyone was so positive about it, saying how cool it was. And it's nice to know that it's a person who does this. It's not a company, because if it was like, run by Google, and it's like, all right, Google, get out of here. I know what you're doing. Or run by Spotify. Or actually, why would Spotify run this? I don't know. But, the fact that it's a human being, like, what's he going to do with this information? I read the fine print on the page that tells you, like, oh, we need access to your Spotify. Basically, it can only read data. It can't do anything with the data. It can't write things in. It doesn't plug anything in. It just says, we need access to your Spotify profile just because, so we can read your top tracks and artists, like your listening patterns and habits and the data that's stored within your profile. And you give it access and it prints out this page very quickly. But yeah, very, very cool to see because you get to see like all sorts of artists that you listen to. So like, yeah, I have my Kanye West and all that, but I also have, My Chemical Romance. I have Tyler, the Creator, Parav Stellar, Aerosmith, AC/DC, all these other people that I haven't thought about in a long time or really talked about a lot, even though I do listen to them quite a bit. But yeah, really, really cool. If you're interested, I'll probably put a link into the description if you want to do it yourself. You don't have to, obviously. This is a very strange thing to experience, especially with a link like this, 107.170.81.187. Yeah, kind of weird. But hey, it gives you what it promises. But yeah, it's super, super cool. All right. So for this episode, you may have noticed I'm solo. I'm also drinking something unconventional. This episode, I'm drinking just water. Reason for that being, I had a wild Friday night and indulged too much in some beverages and didn't feel great for all of Saturday. Felt great on Sunday. I had another party, except it was much more low key, meant for like reuniting with friends I hadn't seen in a while. And I drank like a couple of glasses of wine and a little bit of whiskey, just sipping on tiny bits, and that was delicious. But for now, I just want to keep sipping on water. So I got my reusable metal water bottle, and I'm sipping. And for you cool kids out there, yeah, I'm skip my hydro flask, alright? If you don't get what that means, don't worry about it. That's something that the Zoomers know about. Alright, so you may have noticed earlier when I was mentioning my top artists short term, number 1, Kanye West, number 2 being Jay-Z. Now, that's really, really important to talk about. Okay, because anyone who knows Spotify and hip-hop, or the world of hip-hop very well, would know that Jay-Z has almost never been on Spotify. He may have been on for a little while, but then left and took all of his music with him, which was detrimental to me because Jay-Z was actually one of the first hip-hop artists I listened to, like, specifically. You know, I was a very young kid. I was in middle school at this time. And so I listened to a lot of his music, and I got Spotify, and I was like, oh, cool, I get to listen to all of my artists, or all my favorite artists. And I was like, oh, wait, Jay-Z's not on here anymore? What happened? Well, Jay-Z, of course, launched his own music streaming service, Tidal. And the reason he launched it, according to him, is that Spotify does not pay their artists well enough, which, yeah, I could totally see that. Personally, I think it's more of an issue with the record label hoarding all the wealth and only giving a tiny bit to the artists, and not really Spotify's fault at that point. But that's an argument for another time. So yes, per stream, the artist gets maybe a penny per stream. Every time you stream a song, they get like a penny. So yeah, it's not a lot of money, of course. So Jay-Z launched this service, Tidal, and he was like, okay, I'm going to pay artists a real fair amount. I don't think it ever got out how much he actually pays them. Maybe it did. I didn't research it. Because the price. The price for consumers like me. So right now I pay, $10 a month for Spotify. I'm not a student anymore. I'm not on a family plan. I haven't really organized a group of friends to pretend we're a family. So if you get a family plan, Spotify is super cheap. It's like $3 or $4 a month. But me, I pay the full $10, which is fine. I like Spotify. I really enjoy the service. So I'm super down for it. But anyways, it's $10 a month. Tidal is $30 a month. Minimum. $30 a month minimum. Like, you want to pay fucking 3 times as much for the same music? Now, another argument that Tidal has for it is, oh, we offer much higher quality audio files to stream. And yeah, I did the research, and yes, they do offer higher bitrate. It's like higher kilobytes per second, and which is great, and that's really, really awesome. But I think they neglect to acknowledge the fact that most people who listen to music, not all, but most, wear really shitty headphones. Like, the average consumer of Spotify or Apple Music, Amazon Music, Tidal, they're buying like a cheap pair of headphones and kind of playing it. Me personally, I have a pair of $60 earbuds that were given to me like 3-4 years ago at this point. I've had them for a very long time. I'm actually overdue for a new pair of earbuds. And I usually wear my earbuds to listen to music because it's easy to transport and put away. But yeah, just a quick pair of that. And of course, when I'm at my computer at home, I am wearing my over-ear headphones, and they sound way, way better. It has its own sound card attached to it, so it makes music sound really, really nice. But that's not how I usually listen to my music. Usually earbuds or my speaker, and sometimes my headphones. So yeah, if you're an audiophile, then yes, I would recommend Tidal if you have the money for it. But for most people, not so much. There was actually an article released by, I don't want to missay it, or sorry, not missay it, but say the wrong person. It may have been New York Times, it may have been someone else. But basically, they were talking about this exact topic, and they had an article where it was kind of like a quiz, if you will, where it kind of talks about a little bit about Tidal, the music quality, but also kind of told you, hey, here is like a 10-second sample of music in three different audio quality. They had exact numbers, but essentially it was low, medium, high, and high being the high that Tidal offered. And it's like, can you tell a difference with your earphones? And I said, like, we recommend, closing the doors, closing the windows, over-ear headphones, and like focusing on it. See if you can get it right. And they gave you like 10 music bits to look at, with 3 each. So it's like 30 30 clips to listen to. And I was listening to it and kind of working on it on my own. For me, it was easy to tell which one's the low quality, but really difficult to tell which one's the high quality. And for me, it's all about that bass. No thanks to Megan Trainor. But anyways, yeah, it was for me the bass. If the bass ever clipped for any reason, I'm like, okay, clearly that's the low quality. Bass should not be clipping like that. So that was easy. But when it came to medium and high quality, it was really, really difficult. I would listen to the bass, but also the mid-range. Like, how do the vocals sound? Do they sound good? Of course, I'm not very good at hearing if vocals sound good or not. Hell, I don't even know why vocals sound good right now. And so, I'm listening to it, spent a lot of time on it. I ranked all of them, did the thing. It took a while. But I finished and I submitted my answers and they gave me a grade back. I can't remember exact grade, but it was higher than I thought. It was like a 60 to 70% that I got right. With my lows being pretty accurate, but my mediums and highs being a little wish-washy sometimes. And so that told me, like, even if I'm concentrating really, really hard on the music, I still can't really tell the difference between medium and high. And the article is trying to argue that, like, unless you're in the exact market for that, like you're in that niche market, Tidal might not be for you. Or maybe you just want to get Tidal to be like, yeah, let's pay artists more, and I want a service that supports artists more. Then great, yeah, then the Tidal would be for you. But, yeah. I digress. So, Jay-Z had his streaming service, Tidal, and he put all of his music there, and it was great, yada yada. Then something happened recently. On Jay-Z's birthday, which was like a week ago at this point, all of his music came back to Spotify. It was a Christmas fucking miracle, and it blew my mind. Like, people were talking about it on the Kanye subreddit, and of course the reason they were talking about the Kanye subreddit was because Jay-Z and Kanye have that album, Watch the Throne. It's a collab album. And what sucked was Watch the Throne, even though it was a collab album between Jay-Z and Kanye, like it was both their albums, I guess Jay-Z won some legal custody of it and took it off Spotify. It was on Spotify for a while, even after Jay-Z took away the rest of his music. But then he kind of took it back. And then for some reason throughout the years, it would come back for like a couple of days at a time and then disappear. Don't know if that was them trying to tell people like, hey, remember this album? You're missing it. You gotta go to Tidal. Maybe. Who knows? But all I know is that it came back and I'm super stoked. And that's literally all I've been listening to for like the past week. Just Watch the Throne. A phenomenal album. And good job, Roberto. Phenomenal segue. Let's talk about the album. Watch the Throne. Watch the Throne album 2011 by artists Jay-Z and Kanye West. Kanye West, of course, being the Chicago-based rapper, writer, producer, owner of the Good Music label. Jay-Z, also known as Sean Carter, rapper, writer, some production, and of course owner, well, I think ex-owner at this point, of the Rockefeller music label. Like, he started that shit. The music label that Rihanna's on, that was Jay-Z. Like, he made her big. So, thank you to Jay-Z for that. But anyways, and of course Jay-Z being based out of Brooklyn. So he was a New York guy. So anyways, album, phenomenal. Watch the Throne. I actually listened to this album many years ago, back when I didn't really listen to music super closely. So it never left a super strong impression on me. Except for a couple of songs. There were 3 songs on there I was just like, this is my shit. But the rest of it I was like, I can leave it or whatever. But then I'm glad it came back and I was inspired to listen to it again. Because holy shit, this album bangs. Like, is awesome. Is literally, well, almost literally, I should say, an album of bangers from start to end. Each song is just so fun, something you want to party to or celebrate with, and all sorts of celebration, not just like, hey, we're young, so let's drink and extra celebration. Sometimes it's like, hey, let's sit down at a candlelit dinner and celebrate each other, sort of thing. Like that kind of vibe too. That's there as well. And just got a couple of notes about the album before I get into the details. One, the production on this thing is fucking insane. Like, it sounds so good. The sounds on there, so well mixed, so well mastered. Like, it all sounds crisp. Vocals on there, complementing with the music. I cannot gush enough about it. There have been other music reviewers, when they talk about this album, they say that the production is luxurious. This is a luxury album. When you listen to it, it is luxury in your ears. And I agree with that assessment. I love listening to this album. So even if you don't like rap or the things they're saying in these songs, holy shit, is it amazing to listen to. If you're into instrumentals, I would see if you can find instrumentals on YouTube of this album, because it sounds phenomenal. It sounds so good. It is just a good time. The album cover, of course, is that gold, I don't know what to call it, gold texture kind of thing. Kind of looks like a fractal. It might actually be a fractal. But like, it's very luxury looking. And to like further the point that this album is a luxury album, so if you buy the album, like the CD at a store, it's gonna be like what, $10-12, maybe a little more if it's in demand. If you try to get the vinyl version of this, that shit is expensive. Most vinyls are like, I don't know, 15 to 30-ish, 30 being like the higher end. This one was like, I think I heard like 300 to 500, if not usually way more, like close to 1,000. And you might be thinking, what the fuck? Why? What's so special about it? Like, nothing. It's literally a luxury item. The vinyl for Watch the Throne is literally a luxury item. You buy it just to flex. Because it is a really, really good album. But, you know, I digress. We can talk and argue about that all you want. But it's literally the vibe it's going for. But anyways, another thing to say about this album is with the amazing production it has, a good thesis, like to sum it up in a few words of this album, is the celebration of black excellence. Jay-Z says that line in one of the songs. But yeah, it's literally a celebration of black excellence. Not like excellence like, oh, hey, I just got an A on the test. Or not the kind of excellence of like, oh, hey, I just found a girlfriend. Or, hey, I just, I don't know, became the best distributor in my area. Now I'm pushing bricks like crazy, and now I have money to flex with. Not that kind of excellence. It's literally the excellence of, hey, we started in such humble and shitty beginnings, but now we have climbed so far that both Jay-Z and Kanye have started their own music labels, run and manage their own business, and are making insane amounts of money. I think as of right now, both Jay-Z and Kanye are considered billionaires because of how successful they've been. And so this album, 2011, though before they were officially billionaires, it was kind of a celebration of them having made it on a grand scale. A good metaphor that I like to use is if you ever watch a Scorsese film, those gangster films, you know how it starts with like, oh, I was a nobody, but then, you know, the Don wanted me to do something, and he's like, oh, you're a good kid, you can join my crew. But of course, by the end of the movie, this kid who was a nobody is now suddenly like the boss's right-hand man, or maybe he's number 3 or something like that, and he's like huge, he has all this power and excellence and everything you can ask for, a family and kids. Sure, it inevitably falls apart at the end because, you know, it's gangster stuff, but it's kind of that vibe with this album, that climb to excellence. Actually, not really the climb, it's being there and being self-reflective. Like, we have reached the mountaintop, and it is incredible. A mountaintop that not only did we create, but is higher than any other mountaintop around us. And that album really exudes that. It's a bit prideful, a bit cocky. I mean, it has Kanye West on it and Jay-Z, like what do you expect, right? But really, really well done. So let's talk about it. The first song we get on here is No Church in the Wild. Now this is a really interesting start to the album. I probably would have put this towards the end, but regardless, I think it fits on one of the ends of the album, whether the beginning or the very end of it. Now, No Church in the Wild is kind of one of the exceptions to what I just said about this album, where it's being a celebration of excellence. No Church in the Wild basically it has a very Run the Jewels vibe to it, where it's kind of talking about how do you put it? Just it makes you want to riot and be super anti-establishment. And it's really, really interesting. No Church in the Wild, fantastic production, very smooth, very nice. The video is amazing to watch. I watch it all the time. But basically, it starts off with Jay-Z's verse. Actually, let's start with the hook. So the hook, I'll say it real fast. Human beings in the mob. What's a mob to a king? What's a king to a god? And what's a god to a non-believer who doesn't believe in anything? Will we make it out alive? So that's basically what the song is about. Like let's stand up to these figures of authority that are holding us down. But will we survive it? Who knows? But we have to fight anyways. Which is very different from the rest of the album. But anyways, Jay-Z's verse is kind of talking about how horrifying the scene is before him. There's blood spilled here and there. Those in power are literally feasting on those they have power over, and it's just terrifying all around him. And he has to put his faith in himself, and in Kanye, and in their success, personal skills and success to hopefully survive this terrifying environment. Then we jump to Kanye's verse, but not before we make a slight sidetrack. Frank Ocean is actually on this track. He gives a little bridge, and his voice is fantastic. Like, it's just so good. Just check it out. Yeah, Frank Ocean has his little bridge. It's like, I don't know, 15 seconds long. Super short. But it basically just says, talks about desire and lust, which is a great transition to Kanye's verse, because Kanye's verse has nothing to do with Jay-Z's verse. And it was really confusing the first few times I listened to the song. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, Kanye? Doesn't make sense what you're saying. So basically, Kanye's verse is just saying, like, I have these two women on me right now. They're both very beautiful, and they're both helping me indulge in all my vices. So I'm doing cocaine off her black skin, like a zebra. Yeah, I know. It's Kanye. And talking about, oh man, last night was a crazy party. I wonder if I can call a cab still. And just basically that's what it is. And talks about more about sex, forming his own religion around sex. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about, Kanye? What does this have to do with what Jay-Z said or what the hook is about? But then it hit me. I understand exactly what he's talking about. I realized Jay-Z's verse is from the side point of view of someone who is being oppressed, the scene they see before him. Whereas Kanye is from the point of view of someone living in excess, kind of doing the oppressing. Like, not really the oppressing itself, not like the riot police, but like the 1% who is like, the poor, they act up, I must send the police after them. Oh, what do I donate these millions to the police union for? They should take care of it. And so that's Kanye's point of view. He's doing that. And you might be thinking, that's super cocky of him. How dare he do that while Jay-Z's trying to paint this picture? But I think, no, it's good. Like, it kind of gives us that kind of point of view. And I think Kanye can better deliver that point of view than trying to deliver Jay-Z's point of view, you know? It's this song and this album, really, that really confirmed to me something about Kanye that I've been thinking about for a while. Oftentimes in Kanye's music, there's a lot of sex in it. You may have noticed that. A lot of sex, and misogyny around sex. Kind of like, oh, she's a hoe, she's a slut, a gold digger, I fuck her like this, I fuck her like that, I have her like however I want. And at first I was just like, is he just kind of being open with the fact he might be addicted to sex? Which I think at one point in his career he said he was. But no, I think it's more than that. I mean, it might be that, but in addition, I think he uses sex and women as a vehicle for his metaphors, for the things he's trying to say. It isn't just him trying to show off, like, hey, look, I have all these sex with beautiful women. White, black, Asian. Oh my god, there's so many of them. I have sex so much. No, it's him saying, like, let me use sex as a vehicle to talk about my excess, my indulgence in vices. Or let me use sex as a metaphor to how bad of a person I am, as we talked about in Runaway. Or I'm gonna use sex as an example of, like, I can have whatever I want, sort of thing, and how bad that actually is for people as a whole. And so he uses sex as a symbol, or as a vehicle for all of that. And so, which is why you often hear him talking so much about sex. And so it's really, really well done in No Church in the Wild. Alright, next song, we have Lift Off. Lift Off's really cool because it has Jay-Z and Kanye, but it also has Beyonce. So for all my queen bees out there, this one's for you. Now, Lift Off is very, very nice. I mean, Beyonce's hook kind of ties it all together, what the song's about. He's talking about, like, we're gonna make it so far. We're gonna go up into the stars. And, like, who else do you know can be this successful, this amazing as us? And, like, to be fair, how many people do you know that are successful and as amazing as Beyonce, Kanye West, and Jay-Z? Not many people, I'd argue. Not many. So, yeah, it's kind of a song of, like, celebrating, like, oh my god, we're gonna make it so far. Look how far we've come. Look at all these things we're doing. And Lift Off, the track title itself, is speaking on, like, a rocket, like a space shuttle lifting off and going far beyond that most people will ever see in their lifetime. Like 99.9% of people will ever see. And so this song is kind of a reflection and celebration of that. Not much to say in terms of the verses of Kanye and Jay-Z. Just, Kanye being his typical boastful self. Jay-Z speaking a little bit on how good he feels and stuff like that. Really, really nice track. So, like, the production on it, again, really, really well done. Good use of strings, and just very nice to hear. And you get a little sampling of a guy counting down a rocket ship about to take off, and that ends the track, more or less. Really nice. The third track in this album, of course, is the single that took the world by storm, Fellas in Paris. Yeah, this song is insane. You know the song. I know the song. I know the song so much that I often skip the song because I've heard it so many times. But it's fun. It's just a fun song. You know the song. You've listened to it. You've heard it in bars or clubs. Very fun to dance to. Very fun to do Kanye's part. Very, very fun to say, balls are hard. Motherfuckers want to find me. And it's like, yeah, it's so fun to say. This is just a phenomenal song. And of course, samples the film Blades of Glory, that Will Ferrell film. Very silly film. And I was surprised to hear it. The first time I heard the song when it first came out, I was like, wait, what? I had just watched that movie. And so it was just interesting that it came up again. One funny thing I will say about this song, in an interview later after this album came out, I forgot the interviewer asked Kanye himself, but Kanye, basically one of his responses, is, why do you think the song was called Fellas in Paris? Because Fellas was in Paris. It's like, what does that mean, Kanye? What are you trying to tell us? But, of course, that's just how Kanye is. He doesn't interview very well all the time, as we know quite well. Anyways, the next song on this album, I think, is probably my favorite song, Otis. And it samples the artist, of course, Otis Redding. And what's funny about that is, when I first heard the song, I had no idea who Otis Redding is. And I know to many of you, that's like, how was that even possible? How do you not know who Otis Redding is? He was such a large influence on American music. And I'm like, you're right. But at the same time, I'm a first-generation Mexican-American immigrant. So I didn't get a lot of the classic American references that y'all may have grown up with your parents. Like, oh yeah, this remember a Christmas Story or whatever that movie is called, or like all those other Christmas films. What's that one where that silly one everyone always references where the uncle that comes over is in the RV and it's clogged or whatever. Anyways, National Lampoon's Christmas, I think it is. Yeah, so I didn't know those films or any of those references growing up. The reason I knew any American references growing up was because of The Simpsons, Family Guy, American Dad, and other shows like that. A lot of times when they made jokes, it would fall flat. I would not get it until I talked about it with my friends the other day. Or the next day, I'd be like, oh, yeah, he did this thing. That was kind of funny. He's like, yeah, that's referencing this movie. I was like, oh. So anyways, that bleeds into music as well. So I had no idea who Otis Redding is. Not at all. So yeah, when I found out Otis Redding was a person, I was like, oh, that's why the song is called Otis. I was wondering what Otis is. But anyways, the song itself, Otis, phenomenal song. Probably my favorite because of how fun it is. It's super fun. Kanye, Jay-Z just having a good time. Like, clearly they had fun with this song. With the writing, with the rapping, with the production, and with the music video itself. If you've watched the music video, oh my god, it's like two brothers hanging out and having a grand old time. I'm in fact jealous of how much fun they look like they're having. What's really cool about the video is, you may or may not notice this, it's a bit of an Easter egg. Aziz Ansari is in that video. And he shows up in multiple times in the video. Not just for like a frame or two, but like for like a couple seconds. Of course, he's never the focus because like, why would he be the focus? But apparently the reason he was on there was because I guess one day he made Kanye laugh. And Kanye was like, you're funny. Do you want to be in this video? And he was like, sure, why not? And so he ended up in the video, which I think is a pretty funny story. But yeah, very fun to listen to. Barely not 3 minutes. It's 2 minutes 58 seconds. Oh, great track. Anyways, and then we get into the next track, Gotta Have It. Very fun. This is the part of the album where it kind of really finds its flow. At first, you kind of, I don't want to say it's rocky at first, because it's not. It's just because that first track, No Church for a While, like I said, it's like the most unique song in the album. Then you get Lift Off, and you're like focusing on the fact that Beyonce's in the song, like, oh, how cool. Then you get Fellas in Paris, and you're like, oh, this is the single. And so you're kind of like thinking about other things aside from the album as a whole. And then once you finish Otis, you get into this Gotta Have It, which really kind of lets you know what that focus of the album really is. And it's just, again, a lot of fun to listen to. The production on it is crazy. One thing Gotta Have It does that many other tracks on the rest of the album does, sampling is phenomenal on it. Kanye killed it with the sampling in this album. Not only did he grab samples of like songs and music that we're quite familiar with, but he used them in such a good way, like in a way that it works. It works really well, actually. And so it was just so cool to listen to. I have heard albums where they sample really well-known tracks, but in a very bad way. And it ruins the song. Not only does it ruin the song you're currently listening to, but also kind of ruins a bit. Like, it feels disrespectful. It's like, I can't believe you sampled that song in that way for this. Like, ew, how gross. There's an example I can think of, but I don't want to get into it now. Very famous hip-hop artist. Very famous rapper. He fucked up a couple albums over the past couple of years. And if you know hip-hop well enough, you know who I'm talking about. But anyways, Gotta Have It, great sampling, great time. Then we get New Day. New Day is one of those very few tracks on this album that's actually quite self-reflective. So basically, New Day is Kanye and Jay-Z kind of reflecting and lamenting for their future children, future sons, and just what they have done, what the lessons they've learned, I guess. Let's get into it. So it starts with Kanye's verse, and he basically just says to his son, like, hey, don't make the same mistakes I did. Don't leave your college girlfriend. Don't indulge yourself in strip clubs and groupies. he says he might make his son a Republican, so everyone he knows white people. And he also mentions he would keep his son away from any telethons, no matter what, even if people are hurting and dying. Like, just stay away from telethons. Like, don't try to offer yourself as a way to help these telethons. And why is he saying that, you might ask? It sounds kind of selfish. Like, why should you stay away from telethons? If you can help people, he should be a part of it. Well, many of you may know this, but many of you may not know this as well. Kanye was on a telethon many, many years ago when Hurricane Katrina hit the South in the United States. It took me a long time to really like grasp how terrible Hurricane Katrina really was. But yeah, it was devastating. So many people lost their lives, so many people lost their homes, and the current administration at the time, the George W. Bush, didn't have a very good response to it, and they left people stranded. And I wouldn't be surprised if hundreds of people died because of the lack of proper response by the administration. Anyways, during this, Kanye was doing a telethon to try to raise money for the people, the victims of Hurricane Katrina. And he was kind of standing there, and he had with him Mike Myers, of course, Austin Powers fame, comedian, kind of funny guy. But of course, Mike Myers was doing a very good job, kind of explaining the situation, asking people for help. And Kanye would chime in every now and then, but he didn't say too much, and he wasn't very good at it. He was always very serious in it, and it's like, come on, Kanye, loose. Well, I mean, he should be serious. What's the right word? He was a very, very, very few words, and he was just glaring at the camera the whole time. And it's like, I get it, this is a serious and somber moment, but glaring at the camera and not breaking eye contact with it, it's a little unsettling. And no expression was changing about him. But, Mike was doing his job, and doing it pretty well. But then Kanye decided to chime in. He just said, as soon as Mike Myers finished the sentence, he just chimed in with this amazing line. He said, "George Bush does not care about black people." Holy fuck, holy shit, just out of nowhere, he just said that. And regardless of how true or not that statement was at the time, or it really did represent how a lot of people felt, but holy moly, what a bomb to drop. And this was live, by the way, so they couldn't edit it out. And poor Mike Myers, just, his expression just like, he just saw a ghost, and he like took a total pause and was just caught off guard. So anyways, that is why Kanye tells his son, future son, hey, don't do a telethon. No matter if people are dying and suffering, just don't do it, because then people will realize how much of an asshole you are, and you'll make white people hate you. Unless, of course, Kanye makes him Republican, then white people will love him, as we have seen that. This was 2011 when Kanye said this. As we saw in 2018, it turns out making yourself Republican makes you very popular among white people. Of course, it causes a myriad of other issues, but you know what? You gotta pick your battles, I guess. Anyway, so he kind of reflects on all this, talks about his mother too, like, hey, don't ever bring your mother to LA. It's a bad idea. And the reason he mentions that, of course, when Kanye made it, he flew his mom out. She went to the hospital to get like a simple, very simple operation done. Was not meant to be life-threatening in any way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, the surgery went very, very south, and Kanye's mother passed away a few days after the operation, which is completely unheard of. And so it was tragic. And Kanye blamed himself for it, of course, and that's actually what started like his downward spiral of like how we know him today as like this asshole or whatever. It's because he lost his best friend in a very tragic way. Anyways, I'll get more into that another time. Jay-Z's verse, he's just lamenting on the fact that he's already ruined his son's life, even though his son doesn't even exist yet. He's like, paparazzi are already going to be all over you as soon as you're born. All of my sins are now your sins, and there's nothing you can do about it, and I'm really sorry. It took me, 26 years of my life to make any progress and get any kind of success. Hopefully it won't take you as long, but we'll see. And so he's talking about like, yeah, I'll help you, but it's gonna be hard. So very, very self-reflective. Very cool. Next song, That's My Bitch. Yeah, I know. That's my bitch. Very, very strong misogyny right out the gate. But I think, not talking so much about women specifically. I mean, I think the women they're describing in their verses is a metaphor about success. They're talking about like how successful they are. And so like the more beautiful they describe this woman or how sexy she is or how cool she is, talking about how cool and sexy their success is. And so Kanye talks a little bit about it. The tempo on this is very fun, very, very danceable. I mean, that's true for like 90% of the songs on here. Very, very danceable. Like, I want to dance when I listen to this album. Very, very good stuff. But yeah, Jay-Z does something very similar. A few good lines in there. But yeah, just fun to listen to. Next song, Welcome to the Jungle. Yep, I know. It's copying the same title of the Guns N' Roses classic. But it's very different. It doesn't sample Guns N' Roses. It's a very, very different song. And it's a song, it's also a little reflective as well. Not as much as New Day, but definitely has some reflection in it. You could, like, vibe out and jam to this if you weren't paying attention to the lyrics. But basically, the lyrics are talking about how difficult and how pessimistic it can be at times, being a black man or really a colored person in America. Because the song starts and Kanye opens with a line, and then Jay-Z has his own verse. But Kanye has that first line. His first line is, I asked her what she wanted to be when she was 25. She turned around, looked at me, and she said, alive. And kind of hinting at the fact the average, I mean, the statistic is probably outdated at this point. Maybe it's not. If it's not, let me know. But there was at one point in very recent history while we were alive that for many black men, their life expectancy in low-income areas was literally 25. Like, once you hit 25, like, you're basically like, okay, you're probably going to die. Probably due to gang violence or drugs or something else, right? Or cops. And so he's kind of immediately hits you with that. It's like this girl that he's with, I imagine them doing pillow talk. Like, this sounds like pillow talk to me. So you thought it would be like cute or sexy or something like that. But no, she says alive. She just wants to be alive. And it's like, holy crap, how terrifying. Yet, how not inaccurate either. Like, yeah, there's so many people who feel that way. People in low income areas, like, yeah, that's, for a lot of them, they just want to be alive when they get older. That sounds like a redundant sentence, but you get what I'm trying to get at. And so, you know, Kanye talks on it, Jay-Z talks on it. Really, really good writing on this one. Very, very cool. Okay, we're gonna step on to the next song, Who Gon' Stop Me? This, again, another just fun song, celebrating their excellence. There is one quite controversial line that Kanye kind of repeats, a motif he repeats throughout the song. I'm not sure if it is controversial. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. But yeah, this song is basically just about celebrating excellence and success kind of thing. Like most of the album is, as I mentioned. But the motif Kanye repeats is, it kind of sounds like he's talking through like a megaphone. And he just says, "This is something like a Holocaust. Millions of our people lost. Now who gonna stop me?" And it's like, wait, hold on. How do these thoughts connect? Like, what are you talking about? Millions of people lost? Like, are you talking about like in general, like throughout all of American history? Then yeah, a lot of people have died. And talking about like African American history. Like, yeah, it's pretty dark, but like the song, the lyrics itself, not really about that at all. So I'm a little confused what he's talking about. And to use the Holocaust as like an analogy for it, it's like, it's really strong, man. But I mean, I guess, who knows? Maybe I'm overthinking it. But again, just the verses themselves, the production on it, just fun, cool sounding. It's a good time. Next, Murder to Excellence, another reflective, very similar to Welcome to the Jungle in its motif. But basically Kanye and Jay-Z give more specific examples and like talk about more specific experiences with it all. And so Kanye, he has a really powerful moment where he talks about the number of soldiers lost in Iraq in a period of time. I don't think he ever specifies it, or maybe I wasn't paying attention. But he was like, okay, so like in Iraq, 400 something soldiers died. But then in Chicago, in that same time period, over 500 people died. And he's kind of talking about like, it's really, really bad in Chicago, and murder is just like a thing. Many of you may have heard the term Chirac. Basically just trying to say it's so bad in Chicago, it's might as well be Iraq. This is very controversial, of course, to say this kind of thing. There's a lot of people from Chicago who hate that term. But some to keep in mind if you ever hear that term, Chirac. But yeah, Kanye talks about it a little bit, which is interesting because Kanye doesn't really ever talk about inner city violence. He does occasionally, but not very common. So it's interesting to hear him talk so much about it. And then Jay-Z talks on a very similar thing with his personal experiences from Brooklyn and all that. But of course, the song is called Murder to Excellence. So there is a breakdown like halfway to like 2/3 of the way through the track. And that last part of the song is actually celebrating their excellence. Like we went to, so we went from like an area where murder and all these terrible things are very common. But now look how much we can enjoy life now. Like unapologetically and without worrying too much about our lives. Like we can celebrate our excellence. It's very, very nice. And it kind of transitions really well to the next song, Made in America. Made in America is basically kind of talking about their humble beginnings and like telling their specific story to it. Not in super great detail, but in more detail than you may have heard before. And it's very, very nice. So Kanye starts with his story, talking about how he told his mom, like, hey, I'm going to become a producer. I'm going to make music and sell beats. And his mom was like, but you're going to go back to school. So you have one summer while I'll let you do your beat making and you can have fun with it. But after that, you're going to focus on school, okay? And he's like, oh, okay, fine. But then, of course, he makes it. And the reason he makes it is because his mom actually met up with another producer, No ID, which you may not know that name, but if you know Kanye's story pretty well, you know, like, No ID was the guy that helped, like, really springboard Kanye into who he is. And so, like, yeah, she made that connection, and then the rest is history. Like, and to him, it's like an incredible journey. Like, he only had one summer to prove that he could do really well with his production, and he killed it with it. And so he's like celebrating, reflecting on that, and showing like a lot of thanks, appreciation for it. So it's really nice. Jay-Z kind of paints the like a picture of the family he used to live with, and the bonds and the love he had for his family from his humble beginnings. He talks a lot about his grandma. It's like, oh, what you cooking, grandma? It's like, oh, I'm just boiling some agua, you know. And like, yeah, it's very cute. It's like, if you want to hear Jay-Z talking about his family and familial love sort of thing, you listen to the song. It's very nice. And there's more to it, but I'm gonna leave it at that for now. Made in America. Very optimistic, very cute, and nice song to listen to. Then we jump into the song Why I Love You. The track title would lead you to believe, oh, this is kind of a continuation of this cute, loving positivity. It's not. Not at all. The sampling's really great. It sounds phenomenal. But what the song is about is basically this is Jay-Z's song. There are a couple tracks on here that feel more like Kanye songs than Jay-Z songs. But Why I Love You is definitely a Jay-Z song. And he immediately opens with like, the throne is burning, the room is burning. And it's like, why is this happening? Why is my success being threatened right now? And what could possibly be threatening his success? Like, this is nearly the end of that album. What is threatening his success? And he tells us that the reason is because through his success, he tries to bring others up with his success as well, bring people up and celebrate them. As I